Ah, classic Disney games. Disney was always one of those companies that saw someone else's idea and decided to perfect it. But then the cocaine and heroin entered the situation and they decided to re-release every single idea they had until its audience caught on. This was very much the same case with their line of video games, where they took every video game from NES to Sega Genesis and decided how many times they could get away with slapping a new coat of paint on their games. They continued to do this up until a point where they forgot which era they were in and thought, screw it, let's make everything again just in case. This is where plug and play came to aid. Plug and play was the idea of people who have never seen a video game in their lives grouping together and searching Wikipedia for the answer. Before they realized how much text a Wikipedia page could have, they stopped around the early 90s and decided that all video games are like this. Due to the similarities of the two, Disney and Plug and Play decided to combine their ideas of 16-bit games with already done concepts. Want proof? Well, let's go through these games together, shall we? The Lion King, Timon to the Rescue. Ah yes, the game that was placed in games that no one wanted has been turned into a game itself with a Lion King skin forced onto it. Whilst writing this, I have numerous issues with thinking of something flawed by it other than slowly drifting off after playing this section. Other than, why is Pumbaa in a coma every time the level starts and then decides that life isn't worth living, so he proceeds to walk until he falls off the path? And now, here's my second issue, why exactly can't he see a fraction of a pixel in front of him? Perhaps if he was given some glasses, the game could have been avoided altogether. Donald Duck's Golfing Tournament. After the 5 minutes you have to wait for you to actually play the game, I was immediately delighted to find out I was staring at the world's biggest puke field. After squinting to read the instructions, I tapped the big button twice, only to be thrilled with having no bloody idea what just happened. Next. Simba's Tree Trails. Now I don't understand why they decided to put another Lion King game on this when they already have another 50 other franchises they could ruin, let alone twice. The name also confuses me. First of all, I don't see how playing Tetris can count as a trial unless you mean an endurance trial. Secondly, besides from being somehow in a tree, the game has nothing to do with them. The game to me is Tetris with physics, where if a fruit lands over a gap they will fall, which I would be fine with if it wasn't for the tree shaking and dropping even more fruit on me. It's like the game wants me to quit. Instead just search for paradise. Surprisingly, this is the most functional and, dare I say, enjoyable out of the game so far if I hadn't caught on to what was happening. The game is a collectathon that gives you a bloody hour to beat a level it took me 5 minutes to beat. I know that with certain games, if they are hard, there's generally something to ease the struggle, a bit. But I found none of that whatsoever and realised that the game, instead of being an endurance test like the others, is the exact opposite. It wants to see how far you can go without realising there's a gun in your hand. I'm also annoyed with this concept due to it being done before on the PS1 and having the exact same name, but instead of being a bizarre Empire Strikes Back meets Metroid, it's a bloody Crash Bandicoot ripoff. Aladdin and the 5 Gems. It's a bloody demo of the Sega Genesis and SNES game with the music on a constant 5-second loop. Well, they screwed that up. The controls on the joystick don't seem to translate well with the games I was playing. If a joypad was on the controller, my criticisms would be less critical. The fact that each game was a rip-off was an automatic put-off alongside what I think was music, only I can't tell due to it either being a loud sharp pitch or a guy tapping a pencil on his desk and forgetting he was recording. I played each game for less than a minute, and as I got further in, I began to realise the gun went from the side of my head down my throat and only was getting deeper by the second.